discovering the truth about smart money. When I first entered the market, I was just like millions of other retail traders. I was excited, convinced that if I learned a few candlestick patterns, some technical indicators, I would easily win trades. I believed the market was fair, that price movement was purely the result of natural supply and demand. But after repeated losses, after watching my account vanish again and again, I realized things were not as simple as I thought. I spent countless hours analyzing charts, drawing trend lines, marking support and resistance, applying every indicator I could find. At times, I felt certain I had discovered a secret formula. Yet the reality was cruel. Just one sudden sweep, my stop loss was hit, and immediately after, the market went exactly in the direction I had predicted. That feeling was painful. It made me wonder, is the market actually moving against me? Many of my friends gave up completely, exhausted and frustrated. They said trading was nothing more than gambling, pure luck. But deep down, I refused to believe that, because if everything was random, then why were there people making consistent profits, even living comfortably from trading? That question haunted me for years. I started digging deeper, reading more books, studying materials from many places, and listening to experienced traders. And then, I discovered a concept that completely changed how I saw the market. Smart money, the intelligent flow of capital. I realized the market was never random. Every pump, every dump, every candle that seemed chaotic carried the fingerprints of the giants. They were the sharks, the financial institutions, the big players, and not just participating, but controlling the very flow of the market. These sharks don't need to hide. On the contrary, they leave plenty of traces. Every unusual spike in volume, every false breakout, every stop hunt, those are their signatures left behind. The tragedy is that most retail traders simply don't know how to read them. It took me years of wandering in the dark before I dared to step through that door. And once I did, I understood. Only by following the flow of smart money can you stop being prey in this market. Picture the vast ocean. You and I are just small fish swimming near the surface. All we can see are the tiny ripples, those red and green candles flickering every second. But deep down, where the light doesn't reach, massive sharks are gliding quietly, creating currents that move the entire ocean. Most traders fail not because they cannot analyze, but because they swim against that current. They see a breakout, rush to buy, only for price to collapse and wipe out their accounts. They see a sudden crash, panic sell, and then watch price reverse sharply, leaving them in regret. This is not luck. This is a game of liquidity. For sharks to buy, they need sellers. For sharks to sell, they need buyers. And retail traders provide that liquidity. The pump and dumps in crypto, the midnight stop hunts in Forex, the good news headlines released at the top in stocks, none of these are accidents. They are scripted. And when I realized this, I finally saw the truth. The market is a game run by those who control big money. If I wanted to survive, I had to learn to read their trail. Painful experiences and the moment of realization. I once thought that persistence alone would lead me to success, but reality was far harsher. Every time my account got wiped out, I told myself bitterly that maybe trading wasn't for me. Yet after a few days, I always came back, tried again, and failed again. Stop hunts clung to me like a curse. I set my stop loss carefully, calculated precisely, and still, price would just tap it before shooting back in my favor. Felt as if someone was mocking me. What hurt most was being right about the trend, yet still losing. That's when I realized the problem wasn't the direction, it was my timing. And in trading, being wrong on timing is enough to destroy a trade. I remember one night vividly during the New York session. Gold had been moving sideways for a whole week. I waited patiently. Suddenly, price broke down hard, sweeping through support. Volume spiked. The crowd panicked and sold. I too rushed to exit, terrified of losing everything. But just a few hours later, price rocketed back up. I sat frozen at my screen asking myself, if that drop was real, why did price rebound so strongly? If markets are random, why does it always reverse the moment I enter? That's when I started digging into the charts, examining every detail I had ignored before. I began to notice strange patterns. During sideways markets, sometimes volume spiked abnormally. That was when sharks were accumulating. Long wicks that stopped out every buyer or seller. They weren't random, they were deliberate hunts. Breakouts that barely moved before collapsing, not lack of momentum, but traps designed to lure in FOMO traders. For the first time, I realized these were the trails of smart money. After that, my focus changed. I stopped just looking at price going up or down, and started listening to the story the chart was telling. A sudden pump no longer made me excited, it made me cautious. Was this just a trap to unload positions? A sharp drop didn't make me panic sell, it made me wonder. Are they clearing liquidity before pushing higher? Slowly, I started to see repeating patterns across every market: Forex, stocks, crypto, all leaving behind the same smart money footprints. In Forex, those midnight stop hunts weren't coincidences. They were liquidity grabs. In stocks, bullish news released at the very top was no accident. It was to draw in buyers before distribution. In crypto, violent pumps and dumps in minutes weren't random chaos. They were orchestrated plays. Connecting these dots felt like someone had finally removed a blindfold from my eyes. I'll never forget one trade after adopting this mindset. Bitcoin was being sold off aggressively. Bad news everywhere, retail traders dumping in fear. But on the chart, I noticed one candle, a long wick sweeping down, volume spiking abnormally, and then a sharp rebound. This time, I didn't follow the crowd. I held my buy position. Days later, Bitcoin surged. That win wasn't just profit. It was the first time I truly felt aligned with the flow of smart money. From then on, I understood trading was not about guessing. Trading was about waiting, observing, and acting only when the trail was clear. Behind every sudden dump, every false breakout, there was always the hand of smart money. The market wasn't out to trick me, it was simply testing if I could read its language. The more I learned to follow the trail, the calmer I became. No more FOMO, no more panic. I finally knew the market always leaves clues. The question is, are you sharp enough to see them? Lessons, a new mindset and a different journey. Since the day I began reading Smart Money Trails, my trading has never been the same. Before, I was obsessed with predicting. I tried to guess whether tomorrow price would go up or down, terrified of missing out if I didn't enter immediately. Now, I don't predict anymore. I observe, I wait, and I only act when the signal is undeniable. I take fewer trades, but my accuracy is far higher. I realize the market isn't my enemy. It's like a map, and smart money is the hand that draws the roads. If I watch closely, I can see the trails they leave behind. In the past, A sudden shakeout made me panic, closing trades for tiny losses. Today, I stay calm, knowing that volatility often clears the path for the bigger move. Instead of fear, I've learned patience. I still remember the first big win after aligning with smart money. It didn't feel like luck. It felt like certainty. Like a hunter who sees his prey step right into the trap. That day I knew I had found my way. Every candle, every wick, every sudden burst of volume now speaks to me. A violent sweep isn't random, it's accumulation. A false breakout isn't betrayal, it's bait. A dull sideways range isn't boring, it's quiet preparation. And the best part? These signs repeat across all markets. In Forex, I've seen countless midnight sweeps where price clears every stop below support, then rockets upward at London Open. In stocks, I've watched headlines shout great earnings exactly when price was peaking, only to collapse days later. In crypto, lightning-fast pumps followed by brutal dumps are daily events. Different markets, same fingerprints. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. My mindset has shifted completely. I no longer see the market as a battlefield where I'm doomed to lose. I see it as an ocean, and the sharks are not my enemies. They are my guides. I don't fight them anymore. I follow them. Trading is no longer an emotional roller coaster. My account doesn't swing wildly like before. I've built stability, and that stability is the foundation of real financial freedom. Because financial freedom isn't just about the money, it's about peace of mind. I no longer lose sleep over news releases. I no longer tremble at volatility. I know I'm aligned with the flow of capital, and that knowledge is enough to give me confidence. I realized the difference between successful traders and failed traders isn't intelligence. It's patience. It's discipline. It's the ability to listen to the market's true language, the language of smart money. Those who learn to read it survive and thrive. Those who ignore it become prey. In this vast ocean, small fish that fight the current will tire and perish. But those who ride the current will go farther than they ever dreamed. Smart money always leaves a trail. The only question is whether you can see it, and whether you have the discipline to wait for the right moment to act. The day I accepted this truth, I knew I had turned the page. And I hope that by sharing my story today, you too will find your key. Don't remain a victim of the market. Become the observer, the one who walks alongside the sharks, following quietly, step by step, toward the freedom that every trader longs for.